Hello and welcome. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of the Inuit, the original inhabitants and stewards of this vast and beautiful territory, now known as Nunavut. We recognize the profound and enduring connection that the Inuit people have with the land, ice, and waters of this region. We honor the elders past and present who have preserved and passed down their rich cultural heritage, traditional knowledge, and values. We also acknowledge the resilience and strength of the Inuit communities who have thrived in this challenging Arctic environment for generations. As we gather on this land, we commit to listening, learning, and working collaboratively to foster understanding and respect for the Inuit way of life. May we strive for harmony and unity, recognizing the importance of preserving the cultural diversity and unique traditions that make Nunavut a special place for all who call it home. Welcome to this week's episode. Both of these women are local to this community, and my first question is, what was your high school experience like? Maybe Melinda. How did you enjoy high school?
Let me see. Me being a high school student, I was like any other child. I like school because it was where all my friends met, and that's all we hanged out and learned.
What kind of student were you? You
I
were
was a A+ student. I didn't write on student desks or on the wall. I guess I was a A+ student because how I was raised by my parents.
what were your parents like? Were they did they have a very did they value education strongly?
Yes, for me, my dad and my mom told me to go to school every day because I had to become someone. I all My parents were both very strict on me. If I missed school in the morning, that means I had no evening visiting because I missed school. That's how education was very, it was, I don't know, like I had to be educated because it was important for me to grow up and become someone.
Eh, did you have a balanced lifestyle in high school? Were you able to have fun as well, or were you sort of unbalanced, strictly focused on your grades and academia?
Um, my parents tried telling me to study more on education, but I went to extra curricular activities like after school sports, and I became so connected with sports too. So I think that's, I think I only mostly went through sports.
From the moment, let's say the moment you left your house in the morning, at what time would you usually come back? Were you busy for most of the day?
Yeah, I was in school. And then
Mo-
after like school, everyday school. School was part of my life, and if I had after school some kind of sports, I had to tell my parents that I was at school, then directly home.
And how hard did you have to study? How intense was that portion of your life?
I guess I kind of like, I guess I'm here today, so I guess I did good. Like I listened to my parents. They told me to get my education, so I did. Then after I got my grade 12, then it felt like I was released from my parents because I made it to that point where I passed grade 12. I was graduated. Then I
Eh,
had to do me and start seeing where I fit in.
eh. Mariah, did you enjoy high school?
Yeah, I enjoyed most of it. But I was a very shy and quiet student. But by grade 11 and 12, I started doing extracurricular activities, and
Did you have a favorite extracurricular activity?
I played soccer, and I traveled. I applied for programs like Northern Youth Abroad. Back then, it was Nunavut Youth Abroad
Okay,
program.
that is a very cool program. Let's tell people what that's about.
Yes. NYA is the program that is based in Ottawa, but the Inuit, last time when I was in school 20 years ago, it was mainly for Nunavut students. But from what I understand now, it's the students from NWT and other parts of the north can apply.
Are there any Inuit in NWT?
Yeah, there's some Inuit in Yellowknife and other parts.
And when these groups all get together, is there a plan in place? Like what's the objective of this organization?
This organization brought people together to experience education through work and school. So when we got selected, we got all the assignments that were needed to be done, or we had to work on our schoolwork in order to complete the program. So when we got the assignments from NYA, we had a mentorship. We had to select a teacher for us to help with our assignments, and we had to fundraise like $800.
Oh, lots.
So I know that was lots.
How long does that take to raise about $800?
That time I've written some letters to different organizations and like KIA, Northern Store, Co-op Store.
Shout out the old co-op. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. And I had to make some money by running teen dance a few times. So it was,
Hard worker.
yeah.
Well, so both of you clearly have some work ethic behind you, which maybe is no doubt why you made it to be an educator. But my question is, when did you realize you were going to become an educator? What was your journey like becoming one?
When I graduated from high school, I went to Ottawa to study at Nunavut Siboney-Savut for a year. And then from that, I worked at government of Nunavut as casual, and then I went back to school for a bit in Iqaluit at Nunavut Art College. And from there, I applied for teacher education program here in Akvet. Before I applied for NTEP, I worked at the middle school for like 6 months, for a year.
And what is NTEP?
NTEP is Nunavut Teacher Education Program. It's a program for Nunavut Mute if they want to become a teacher. So we studied for 4 years, and the first year was like college foundation year. So altogether 5 years.
Melinda, did you do NTEP as well?
Yeah, well, with education, it started me being a secretary since 1995. That's
My
how
birth
I-
year.
Yeah, 1995 was the,
That was a good year.
yeah, May. I think I was only supposed to sub being a 1 month secretary, and took me over, then became an SSA 2006 at John Ang Illungiayok High School, then took education leave to take NTEP with Mariah. That's how really close. So 2012, I took a big step and took the 5-year program, including the college foundation, then 4 years of NTEP.
What's the program like? Is it a tough program?
I think you have to be mentally strong because a lot of the assignments we did were researching and essays, and you had to. We had a very good instructor, so he made sure we came to school every day and always encouraged us. So
We were all like we're all adults, and like we had we were in a classroom, and we had that same teacher for 4 years, and it was really good, and he kept on checking up on us. If we're late, he talked with us like as a regular student. Like we have to be committed to this program if we wanted to succeed in it. Like I never understood what it will be worth it in the end meant for 5 years, and finally when we graduated, when we got jobs, and we finally knew what it meant.
One of the questions I have is one of the problems that we've talked in past episodes is the absenteeism of some students. When you were going to high school, did that problem exist, or were people more regular attending?
I think more people were attending school. We were only 12 students when we graduated from my high school here. But
What?
these days, the
What do we have these
graduate-
days?
Like like today, there's like 40 graduates.
Wow, you guys had 14? What did you say? 13?
12.
12? Wow, that's insane. Same?
1992, we had only 10 graduates. Nowadays, it's 43 or nowadays. So
What's that like, having a graduation with 12 people, 10 people? Is that okay? Still fun?
I think, I don't know, maybe the school system was more strict, or
Ah.
I don't know. I don't know how Melinda feels, but
I think back in the days, like I feel that there was more students back in my
Yeah.
school days, because I think the parents were strict
yeah.
and they wanted us to be educated.
Hmm.
And nowadays, parents
Are just happy.
happy? I don't know, but for me to say, it's having my parents as parents, and I thank them forever, because if I didn't have parents like them, like being strict, I wouldn't be talking to you guys.
And what about the teachers back there? Back then, was it mostly local teachers, or was it Kabluna from down south? Really?
There were more kapluna because NTEP program, we finally have NTEP program like 15 years ago, 10 years ago, a group before us.
A group before us, then it was KTEP or something.
Eh,
That's where
it used to be given teacher education, but it was Nunavut, so I'm trying to say NTEP was based in Akvet a few years before we entered NTEP program at Art College. So by like in the 90s, they would travel to Rankin or Iqaluit to become a teacher. So hardly any Inuit teachers were attending. But there were quite a few. There were quite a few elementary teachers, but not high school. There were mainly Kablunak teachers at high school. So
I see. Do you think that trend is going to continue, or do you think it seems like now it seems like everything's more balanced. It seems like we should have more like because in the past people have said we Kabluna cannot make any change. We have to have a team partnership with Inuit, and it seems like we're sort of trying to make that happen these days, and it seems like we're on the right track. What do you guys think? Are we on the right track?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. One of the next topics that we're gonna discuss is the major blizzard that just passed. Just to can we describe? All right. So first of all, blizzards here are intense to begin with. The past blizzard that we just had, I would say, was the most intense blizzard in the last I don't know how long. I'm gonna say a hyperbole. In the last 100 years. This is the most intense blizzard in the last 100 years. It might not have actually been, but it was pretty intense.
Yeah.
What kind of scenery did you see outside?
It was white.
How far could you see down the road?
On the first blizzard, we could see like 2 kilometers, but by next day we couldn't see anything. It was like zero,
Like
no visibility,
yeah.
or less than 2. I couldn't see my next door across.
Yeah. I kind of so they always say don't go in the blizzard, don't go walking. And I took that to heart because I had to throw my garbage from my apartment into my garbage bin outside, and I literally could not see my hand in front of my face and my footsteps. I would look behind me, and because the wind was so intense, my footsteps were gone. And so I had to touch my building all the way,
Really?
and I threw my garbage because I did not want to get like, cause I know if you
Yeah.
let's say for example you go for a walk, which they say don't go for a walk in a blizzard, but let's say you go for a walk and you can't see where you're going. Let's say you're in a 20-foot by 20-foot box. You can go 10 feet one way, and you might I don't know if I went the right direction. And then you go 10 feet the other way, and you're still looking for a reference point, and your feet are gone. You're like, I'm just going in circles looking for a reference point, and eventually everything is pretty close. Everything's within 20 feet of you, but you don't know which direction to go, and it's very scary. What are some of the dangers of going out in a blizzard?
You might get lost in the blizzard. Then oh, there may be some people might get lost in the blizzard, and
If they don't know
yeah,
the town.
if you don't
Kabluna.
know
Yeah.
the town really well.
Yeah. And then same, even if let's say for example, one of my buddies came at nighttime, and the lights were on, but while he was on his skidoo, the lights shut off.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's like, "Yo, I'm in a blizzard. I don't know where I am," and so he just walked to the closest house and went inside.
Yeah.
Now, actually, this is a funny thing. Most houses here are unlocked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are your guys' house unlocked?
Yeah.
What is the purpose of keeping? Because if you told anyone down south, don't lock your door, they're gonna be like, you're crazy. I'm gonna lock my door. Why don't people lock their doors up here?
Safety. Because if we're still talking like the storm with the last one, or being as Inuit, we are welcoming.
Yeah,
Like-
we're very. I think everybody has a relative here, and we could just walk in to a friend or family. And if we hear someone knocking, we think it's a police, cops.
And you don't answer. There's no way.
We would be shaking.
We're not
Oh
home.
God, the cops!
Yes, it's always as a Kabluna, it's always whenever I'm with an Inuit, and they say, "Hey, just go in." I'm always like, "I'm gonna follow you. I'm gonna take your advice, but I'll follow you in." Uh, and also, one of the things that has been brought to my attention is I don't know how often do people get chased by polar bears here.
There's polar bears when it's uh, when the ice is forming, so the bears come around town, and cause we live on the shore or by the Hudson Bay, a lot of bears come around by the dams to look for food, or sometimes they get in town.
Um, have you ever known? How worried are you? I guess you have transport. Okay, so this is my first question. What are your modes of transportation? Are you guys walkers or do you have a vehicle? I guess Melinda's got a vehicle.
Yeah, I have a vehicle. I mostly drive in the winter because it gets dark, but summertime, sometimes I take my walks. So,
Eh.
And
And
I drive skidoo in winter.
are either of you ever worried about running into a polar bear in the winter?
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
Keep your head
like,
on a swivel.
yeah, you always have to, like, wintertime. Nowadays, I have to, even trying to take the garbage out, I have to look around because it's kind of dark where I live. Like, there might be one hiding somewhere because maybe it snuck in. I don't know, so I have to always check around and remind myself I have to check around and dump my garbage bag in the dumpster.
I walk to school every morning, and I am so freaked out. I'm starting to keep my head like on a swivel, and I'm always thinking, which house am I going to walk in? Which house is the closest one? I'm always taking in the advice of the local Inuit. One other thing, I'm starting to study. I'm like, all right, if I do get attacked by a polar bear, what are the best chances to survive? And this is just for anyone that decides to come up here. Get yourself a knife, and here's what they say: you're gonna have to sacrifice a limb. So here's what you put your left hand, whatever hand's not holding the knife. Now tell me if you think this is real. This might be totally fake. You hold the knife in one hand, you ball your fist in the other hand. You give the bear your balled fist. You take your he's got your hand. They say the bear's gonna rip most of your muscles off. You take your hand with the knife and you stab it as often and fast as you can around the neck area. Do you think somebody could survive that way?
Yeah, maybe. And there was one elder I've heard before in Rankin that he was attacked by a bear, and he survived by going like this because the bear was gonna bite him. Oops! If he were like this, but
Yes.
when the bear opens his mouth.
Yeah. So for anyone listening, this the motion that Mariah just did was the bear is moving his mouth up and down, and if you stick your forearm horizontal, it fits in the mouth very easily.
Yes.
But if you tilt your arm a 90-degree up and down so that it doesn't fit in their mouth easily. Wow, that's a good strategy. Emma.
And
Are there
the way they turn.
Something I'm not 100% sure, but the way that they turn, I think they turn slower on. I forget which way, like the right or left. Ano?
yeah, direction change? No
Yeah.
good.
Like somehow, like they're saying that bears are slower this way turning.
Zigzag?
No,
Like
Just one way.
like that.
Like a rotation.
Yeah, right
Emma.
or left. But I'm not too sure. But that's a good example.
Emma. Are there any traditional practices or knowledge passed down through generations related to blizzards? How do we know when blizzards are coming? It seems like the local Inuit always tell the rest of the teachers when it's coming and when to get prepared for it. How do you get that information?
I think I don't know if it's true, but maybe when there's a ring around the moon or sun, maybe moon, blizzard may come soon. And a lot of people have uh, their surgeries done in their bodies. Their scars are not comfortable or they're itchy. That means the blizzard or bad weather coming.
Yeah. And how fast do the winds reach? How fast was the last blizzard that we had? Do you remember how fast the winds were?
It was like 110.
Which is
was-
insane.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
And
the last one.
with the wind temperatures, or with the wind, what does that bring our temperature to in a blizzard?
It could go up to minus 50 with wind chills.
Have you ever been one of my first blizzards here, I didn't realize how cold it got. And I was going to my auntie's house, which was, and I also, this is my first time to my auntie's house. I don't even know where she lived. She had said, "Oh yeah, it's down the road to the right of this house." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, that makes sense." And I went out in sweatpants in minus 60.
Really?
I thought I was going to die. Literally, my first thought, this is before I had the advice of the Inuit of just go into a house. I was thinking of which window am I going to punch and jump in. I was like, my head started going white. I couldn't think, and I was like, this is too cold. But I can't remember how I got out of that situation. But the temperatures do get pretty cold in a blizzard.
Yeah.
Be prepared, bundle up. How did our community cope with the latest blizzard, with our last blizzard? Were we okay? Were there any houses that were struggling?
Yes. On that week, my mom's house, she lived by the church, Roman Catholic and the Anglican church, that street. And some of that area, they had no more power due to blizzard. The linesmen were working on them, but local, hulay mic ko,
Kulle.
dawnik ko kalo. Bilakid pa. The linesmen, power core people worked on the wires, but the wires, I guess they didn't work, or the linesmen from Rankin had to come in the next few days.
And we can't just fly them in during a
Yeah.
blizzard.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to wait.
Even the airport was shut down.
I heard the airport was full of snow.
Yeah, it was
How did that? Someone just forgot to lock it or something, or did the winds just break?
maybe just
I think the
drafting.
wind was too strong. It just
Oh. And do you have any idea how they got? Did anything damage there?
I'm not sure, but I saw someone pick up a shovel and started cleaning it.
Mo.
But with I think our town that was hit with this big blizzard, like there was a lot of like people that own their own homes were out of power for maybe close to 4 days.
Why does that happen? Like, is there a difference between people that own their own homes and government housing? Like, how does like? Cause it seemed like half the town was fine and half the town was out of power.
Yes. We have social housing and government units housing, and then there's homeowners. Some people own their own home and the land. So we have these types of housing, and the houses that were affected were social housing, and we had our power out my place, but it wasn't that long. It was just few minutes, and
Yeah. And why are there different like how does I don't really know who fixes the power, but how do they decide that one house group is more important than the other?
I think that there was wires that were broken, so they had to find the broken wires because I think there was maybe four places because those linesmen did an awesome job on that very first night. They found a broken wire and they put it back together, but for some houses, we had to wait until the blizzard was done. And 4 days that took the linesmen to go here and to fix the other like the problems. So that's where I guess there was just broken wires somewhere
Mm.
that the local linesmen or local power corp people workers didn't know how to fix maybe, so
Yeah.
they fixed the minor ones but the big ones had to wait until 4 days.
I see. And we're just stuck. When people are stuck in those situations, what kind of problems do they have when they have no power for 3 or 4 days?
my
Do they have heat?
there was no heat. My mom had to stay with me for 3 days, and my little brother. But on that second or third day, um, food and drinks were provided by the hamlet
Oh wow,
at the gym.
that's nice.
Yeah,
Was it how much food was it? Was it enough to keep people going?
yeah. And there was country food and snacks and finger foods
Nice.
and some water.
And the public housing like housing association were that had like people that live in public housing had housing gave the people generators to warm their houses, so I think they were switching hour or every 2 hours or a day or something like that.
Let the house warm up.
Yeah,
And then
let
switch?
the then go to another part where. But all these homeowners were, I guess they were all luckily prepared with their own generators and stuff like that. So, but I couldn't speak for them. So,
Yeah.
mm.
What I'm starting to prepare for is the I don't know how efficient these are. There's candles you can buy that burn for 72 hours. How much heat does a candle give off? I don't know. Zero. All right, I might not even buy them anymore, but they were in my Amazon cart during the blizzard. I was like, how do I prepare for the worst case scenario? But yeah, okay. Don't take my advice. Do something better. Are there how does extreme weather conditions affect daily life in the school? First of all, how did the blizzard affect our school? Do you remember what happened?
Yeah.
Our school was messed right up.
Yeah. Waterfall. We had a waterfall in the school, and it was,
And no heat.
yeah, no heat.
We had no heat. Our water pipes burst. The sprinklers were going off. Some of our paper got damaged. Yeah, and also our front door, like the lock was completely shot. You could turn it all the way, and it wouldn't budge the latch. So for an entire week, we shut down, and yeah, I talked to some of the employees that were working on the building, and they were like, "Wow, this place is messed right up." So, but luckily, we did get the place back up and running after quite a while of working on it.
Especially the middle school, they were out for a while. They were
That's
out for
right.
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
More.
More like almost 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Blizzard, then 2 weeks of maintenance, I think.
Yeah.
Do you know where did they go to school at all? Did they have a plan to bring in students?
No, they didn't go. Students didn't go.
Have they ever had a plan for emergencies, or have they ever implemented where like one school joins the next? That would be crazy.
Yeah.
Could you imagine having two classrooms in one, elementary and high school? Wow, that would be a crazy time, eh?
Yeah.
That's what it seemed like was going to happen originally. As soon as they found out that our school was in not working condition, it seemed like they were really hoping to push us into some sort of setting so that we had no time off. It was just continued learning.
Yeah.
So I was very curious to see what happened there. Let's go into some of the most important aspects of this podcast. Your morning rituals. Can you describe your typical morning here? What time do you wake up? All right, so first of all, school starts at 8:45. We're supposed to be walking in the doors 8:45. What time do you wake up?
I wake up at 7, usually 7, between 7 or 7:30, and I get ready for school. And teachers gotta be in the school by 8:45. So we go to school, and then we have breakfast duties, and
What are your duties?
we supervise the kids in the gym or in the art room or on the stage or on the blue steps. And each day there's always supervisions in the school.
Yeah. What time do you wake up, Melinda?
I'm not as early as Mariah. My latest I should be up is at 8 a.m.
Emma, and how long? I think that's probably the most real. Like most people roll out of bed closest to 8:45 as possible. How long does it take you to get ready in the morning?
5 minutes.
Yeah, you live a really good lifestyle. Um, how do you guys approach breakfast in the morning? Do you build it into your schedule?
I don't eat at home. I wait till I go to school because breakfast is provided. And yeah,
And so at the school we have a breakfast. We have a breakfast program that I guess every school should probably have one of these. It's a good way to get the kids fed, nutrition. It's like a good idea. But yes, 100%. We feed students and staff. Melinda, do you partake?
Some days I eat breakfast mostly at school or pick up a sandwich from the lumber store.
What kind of breakfast do we have at the school?
So it's something always different. Like every morning, it's different. It's
egg sandwich or unama grilled cheese and pizza, pancakes.
I don't want to compare ourselves, but what does the middle school have?
I'm not too sure.
I have no idea.
Or actually, I don't mean middle school. I'm thinking elementary. Do you know what the elementary school has for breakfast?
I heard from my grandchildren that they have milk and cereal.
Yeah, milk
I
and cereal.
think milk and cereal and the fruit. I think.
Yeah, which is great. But no one can do it like the high school.
But at middle school, I think they have soup. Like
Oh, really?
Before lunchtime.
Oh, lucky. Honestly, we should do that.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Can you share a bit about your educational background? So Melinda teaches math, and Mariah teaches the grade 9 and Nuktutut. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we have two of the most passionate educators in our school with us today. What is a daily life like in your shoes? Is it difficult?
I think it's for me, my daily life at school, I like being busy, and I'm teaching grade 9 girls, but will be switched to grade 9. I will be teaching grade 9 boys in Nuktitut after Christmas.
You both teach grade 9s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the grade 9s like? I teach grade 10 to 12.
Grade 9s they're getting better at this time, and we had to remind them a lot about school rules in the beginning of the year, like it always happens, and they'll get used to the rules and procedures by like second month.
It takes a little bit of time.
Yeah.
I find that whatever goal you have, there's quite a bit of a process to it. It's kind of like taking off in an airplane. There's all these buttons you got to flip
Yeah.
on, and make sure all these checks are in order.
Yeah.
But eventually, if you follow all of these protocols, you can get the students to where you are hoping to get them to.
Yeah.
Melinda, are there any unique approaches to teaching math that you find effective with your grade 9 students?
Maybe unique way that I sometimes wish that I had a Inuk teacher like me, understanding and talking in my language, teaching math.
Yeah.
Because when I have Kabluna students, I always have to remind them that I mostly teach in my language, and but there was one student that was grade 9 last year, and I finally met him, and I know him as Kabluna, but then I told him I'll probably be end up talking in Inuktitut or both Kabluna way. It's good. I'm from here.
Imma.
So he called himself Inuk. So he didn't mind because he understand our language now. So, but that was my mistake. I should have get to know the student more.
Yeah, I think having a local Inuit speaking their native language is probably one of the most effective ways to reach these students. I have noticed, man. Okay, so I had a sub the other day. I wrote out the lesson plan exactly how I would have taught it,
Yeah.
and the students responded so much better to the Nuktitut sub. The feedback I got was so good, and I had to make sure I let my sub know. I was like, "Wow, dude, you did such a good job. Thank you very much." But yeah, I feel like if you can, maybe this should be an initiative for new teachers when they come up. Maybe learn a little bit of Inuktitut, try and reach your
Yeah.
students a little bit
Yeah.
more.
I think there should be like a package of welcoming or hunema.
Like words.
Yeah.
Simple words that new Southerners that come to the community, like Huvit or
Tell you what, I'm gonna whatever. If you guys decide to design some words, I'm gonna plug it in the comments down below. Make sure you read it, all you welcoming new teachers. What advice would you give to the new teachers coming to our community?
I would give them advice like Inuktitut is our first language in Nunavut, especially in Akvet. We speak more Inuktitut than English, and a lot of
Well, that's a good question. When you think, do you first think in Inuktitut or in English? Like when I speak to you, do you have to translate?
yeah, somewhat
How long does that take?
few
Like
maybe
microseconds?
yeah.
Yeah. And then let's say maybe there's somebody that isn't as comfortable with English. Maybe their teacher is gonna have to speak slower. Would that help?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would help because sometimes I may not get all the or whatever the English teacher is trying to say because he's talking too fast.
Yeah.
So there may be some language barriers with the students.
Are there any specific challenges new teachers might encounter?
Maybe like attendance.
Yeah, and they probably have no idea how to deal with. How do I deal with absenteeism? What about how can they best integrate into the community? Let's say the new Kablunan teacher wants to come up here and they want to be part of the team. What kind of things do they have to do?
Just be welcoming, and kind of for me to see, like, when there's a big event at the community complex, just go see your students what they are doing. Just try to be, just join our community.
Like
Just
connect with the students and the nature or in Akvet.
Focus on relationships.
Yeah,
Important.
building relationships and
getting to know the parents, or getting to know the community, who works, what places, what faces you'll see. So
or they can go on YouTube. There's a lot of videos on YouTube about Akvet, and they can get to know the community and Inuit, or they can search how many people live here. We have like 3,000 people living here, so it's pretty small for an outsider or someone who came in from city. 3,000 is pretty small, but there are smaller communities than Akvet. Akvet is one of the biggest communities in Nunavut.
And also one of the most southern.
Yes.
I always say this is the warmest place in Nunavut. If you want to go on vacation, come to Arviat.
Yes.
What strategies have you found most effective in engaging students? Is it mostly, if you can speak Inuktitut, is that pretty much just a guaranteed you have them engaged, or is there another strategy that you perhaps use? What's the most predominant strategy you use?
What's that?
The most strategy used. Is it mainly just Inuktitut? Like when you just speak to Inuktitut, the lessons go efficiently, or is there something that you have to do?
I think the way I teach, like being welcoming, sharing, and just being, I know, like understanding. Like I tell a lot of my experience in school lives. Like if they don't try,
What happens? Okay, so let's pretend that you have a
Okay.
student that is perhaps not excelling as a they're not making as much progress as you would have hoped. Maybe they've missed a few classes. Maybe they show up maybe twice a week, and you find that the student is just not executing your plan that you had in your head. How would you go about solving that problem? What are your first steps?
talk. I would talk to the student first, like that, like what his or her plan is, what she wants to do, what they want to do. Make a plan with them first, and I know start maybe talking to their parents, like, hey, where's your child? Like,
Emma.
hey, maybe just trying to be more understanding of how and why they're not attending, why. Like, just talk to them.
All right, so this is actually a really good question. This is a good segue into communicating with parents. So one of the things that is very difficult up here is so for example, if you want to do a good job communicating to parents, I feel it takes about a month of preparation. So first, you're gonna observe your classroom. You start taking your notes, and I have a worksheet or sort of a template where I can write the student name, what observations I'm making, what corrections, interventions I have taken, and the final outcome, the final comments, so that I can clearly communicate to the parent what has happened. But it takes about a month because I might not have, I might see one student one day, I might take my little bit of observation, and then I might not see them for again. So I'm constantly having to look into my notes, write as much as I can. I'm constantly observing and I'm constantly writing. It takes about a month to get a full picture. So it takes about a month full picture, and then you have to plan how many names you're going to call. So you have roughly 30 students on attendance in each class, and then you think, all right, which students am I going to call first? What are the priorities? So usually I call the ones that have attended class and are failing. So say, this is what you have to do to pass the course. I also want to call the students who are doing well and say, hey, this is what your student's doing amazing. This is, here's his personality. He's a good team player. We love having him in class. Keep him coming. So we have a good heart. We have probably a total of 40 names that we're hoping to call. We gather the phone numbers. Let's say we have 40. We're intending to call 40 names. We might find out that there's only 18 phone numbers. We might spend an afternoon calling those 18 phone numbers, and we might get through to 3. So it's a lot of effort
Yeah.
for minimal gains.
Yeah.
And so I know a lot of teachers that are like, I'm not even going to bother doing this. It's like, yo, come on. I mean, you're a professional. We might as well try.
Mm-hmm.
However, is there an alternative strategy, perhaps? Maybe just say hello in town and find out who their parents are in town and talk to them in the grocery store.
Yeah, that could happen.
Yeah, that
Because
could
there's
happen.
a lot of parents go to the stores, and we often see parents at the stores.
Do you know
or-
their parents? Do you know all your students' parents?
Yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
pretty much.
Um,
If I see a parent at the store, I would say, "Oh, I haven't seen your child. What's wrong with him?" Then they'll quickly tell me, and then I would say, "Oh, make sure we miss him at school." And with the long ago, like we used, their parents used to go for home visits during parent-teacher interview, so that made a difference maybe back in our time. But now it's parents coming to the school.
how do we bring in the parents? Do we have any strategies to gain as many many parents as possible from the community?
We go on air. That's usually Melinda's job, to go on air, and we post on Facebook page or social media, and
Letters.
make kids take home letters and saying that there might be draws so more parents could come.
What kind of draws do we have?
Cert hunema.
Gift
Card,
box or
gift cards and
food hampers?
and
Yeah,
good
we're
stuff.
heck yeah, dang straight. We're gonna finish off with 2 last questions. What drives you crazy about some of the new teachers that come up? What are the qualities or characteristics that you would prefer not to see?
Like maybe when they're pushing a student too much because of their expectation, because Inuit students may be different than white student or Kaplunak student.
Relationship is very key, eh?
Yeah.
Figure out, talk to them, say, hey, what's going
build a
on?
relationship
Yeah.
first.
What sort of qualities do you like to see in a Nugu Kabluna teacher? If you were in charge of recruiting, what kind of people do you want to see?
We'd like to see some welcoming staff or new teachers or newcomers, and
Like, I guess using all the IQ values that
Yes.
are out there, like
What's an IQ? Does that stand for something? Inuit.
Inuit Kawimayatukan.
Eh,
That's Inuit values and beliefs, and there's 8 of them. So all the teachers are encouraged by beginning of the year perhaps to use those 8 Inuit beliefs that we use.
And we're always told by our supervisors, our admin, to try our best to incorporate these IQ principles into
Yes.
our everyday lessons.
yes.
Well, that was a very good episode. I really look forward to the next one. We got to wrap things up. I have another event coming up in 10 minutes. I got to take down and set up for the next one. But it was a great episode. I thank you very much, both of you coming on. And we're out.
Thank you.
E-bye.